Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to another edition of 15 Minutes in WACSI, a special program dedicated to discussing issues pertaining to development in West Africa. Today, we bring to you a special guest on the program who will be talking about her experience working in Sierra Leone and contributing to the development of the country. Welcome to the program.
Thank you very much.
Can you please introduce yourself to our viewers?
Sure. My name is Nina. I'm the Managing Director of a Danish NGO called Dreamtown. We work with urban development in slum communities across Sierra Leone and Zimbabwe and Uganda for now.
Can you tell us about, your experience working in Sierra Leone so far? When did you begin? How did you find it? And why are you still on the journey of contributing towards the improvement of lives of persons living in slums?
Sure. So the Dreamtown project started already back in 2010. I personally didn't come on board until 2016. But Dreamtown has been present in Sierra Leone for quite some time now. And we started working together with a local organization called Youth Dream Center, who focused on providing educational services and programs for marginalized young people, which was especially needed after the civil war in the 90s. So some people from Denmark got in touch with Youth Dream Center and slowly developed a relationship that continued over many years up until now, where we're still partnering with Youth Dream Center. Moving on from education, we started to see the need for moving out in the communities, not only bringing people inside houses to come for education, but moving into communities to mobilize young people, get other community-based organizations on board, because there are a lot of issues for young people living in cities, especially some communities in Sierra Leone. We see a lack of opportunity, which is what we really want to try and provide. And through our local partners that we have here in Sierra Leone, we believe that we can make a difference to help create some of those opportunities. Because I think opportunities is what young people are really lacking. It's definitely not the motivation and the hopes and the dreams. They are all very much present, but we need to provide some more opportunities.
And so how did you get in touch with YDC? How did you, get to know them?
So when Dreamtown started back in around 2010, there was a group of Danish guys who were in Sierra Leone as part of their own education back in Denmark. And they met with some of the back then volunteers that were starting up Youth Dream Center. And they shared the vision of working with the young people and helping to provide them with educational opportunities. And Youth Dream Center back then had a vision about creating an organization of their own. And so they decided to partner up and slowly began to develop the organization. And the guys from Denmark helped mobilize some support throughout that process. And then YDC, Youth Dream Center, slowly developed, and so did we as Dreamtown in Denmark as our own organization. And then we kept the partnership going.
You have worked in Sierra Leone for some years now, maybe going in and coming in and going out. But what's your experience, contributing towards the development or working in the development sector in a country as Sierra Leone?
So I think that, to me, what I see is that in Sierra Leone, the civil society can be a challenging environment to navigate, and especially if you're a smaller local organization. The support that you can mobilize locally is very limited. There's also not a lot of support from the official system, from government, so it can be a struggle as a local small organization to mobilize enough funding, mobilize enough resources to really create the impact that a lot of organizations here definitely have the potential of creating. So in that way, I think for us it has been a really giving partnership, because the same way that maybe some of our partners here are depending on us mobilizing some funding from Denmark, we are also depending on them very much to carry out our activities, because in many cases we need local partners in the countries that we want to operate in order to get proposals and get projects. So it's been an amazing journey for me personally, and for Dreamtown to get the opportunity to work with so many amazing people in Sierra Leone.
You have been talking about partnerships, partnership building or partnerships with organizations here in Sierra Leone. And that is even one message that many of our leaders, presidents are actually championing, that they are partnering with governments, of certain countries in the West, not depending on those governments. From your experience, why do you think having such a partnership is key in our efforts towards contributing to development in a country like Sierra Leone?
So I think, like I said before, there are so many organizations already in place, or people in groups who have the ambitions and the motivation to make an impact. The thing is that the environment for mobilizing enough support is very limited here in Sierra Leone. And that's where we can come into the picture as Danish organizations, because in Denmark we have the opportunity to mobilize some of the funding that there is through our foreign ministry and the Danish development aid, to identify partners and projects that we really believe in, that we feel deserve some more support. So in that way it's a productive relationship, because we can mobilize some funding that can help some local organizations actually reach their potential. But we are at the same time very aware of the dependency that we are part of creating, that you described, which is something that we're really trying to work on, so we can develop more even partnerships where we don't have this high dependency from one part on the other in terms of financial sustainability, because that can be stressful for a partnership in development.
And talking about the element, depending or not depending, what should our organizations, here in Sierra Leone be doing in order to move away from that, say, dependency culture on organizations like yours?
So I think there are several things that you can do. Of course, you can, as much as you are able to enjoy your local community and environment, make sure to tap into those opportunities that are present locally. Be it engage your local council or the local private businesses and corporations that might be willing to improve on their reputation for business by supporting your cause. I also think it's very important that the smaller organizations start networking more, look out for other people that are doing the same kind of things that you are, and then engage in networks, both for mobilizing resources where you can maybe pool some of the resources that you have together to develop a stronger case, also for doing advocacy, and then maybe focus on other people. For example, with Youth Dream Center, one of our partners, they engage in education. Identify other partners that have the same focus, and then see how you can work together as a sector of for example, non-formal education, to be stronger together. I think there are so many smaller civil society organizations in Sierra Leone that could really benefit from knowing more about each other's work, also helping each other, advocating on behalf of each other, and maybe together, say, write up a proposal, approach government for support. I think that could help a lot.
That is a very wonderful proposal, and if you want to understand the techniques of mobilizing resources locally here in Sierra Leone, the West Africa Civil Society Institute, WACSI, is very ready and willing and available to provide you with the technical know-how to do that. Otherwise, you can visit the website www.changethegameacademy.org, and you can follow the course on local fundraising or mobilizing support, and you will not be disappointed in investing your time while taking these courses. Coming back to you, Nina, I just want to find out, so what can organizations, say, in Denmark or in Western countries equally do to ensure that we cut off, or we gradually loosen up or disconnect, that umbilical cord of dependency, that you described, that some of your organizations are creating, in this sector? So what can your organization or organizations in the West start doing to ensure that they promote the sustainability of civil society in a country like Sierra Leone?
Yeah, so I think, first of all, acknowledgement of how many of these partnerships are very project-based, jumping from project to project, but be aware that then you have a gap in between projects that is dangerous to many of these local partner organizations, because they might not have the opportunity to mobilize enough funding for running their initiatives in between projects. So I think one thing is that when you are in this kind of project-to-project partnership, you have a responsibility to also keep in mind the sustainability of the organization, not only the impacts of the projects. I think that comes with the partnership aspect. So make sure as early as possible to discuss with your partner, if you're developing new partnerships, what is the sustainability strategy? How much can we cover through projects? How much will we need to cover from other sources? So it doesn't come as a surprise when one project ends and there is no more funding to carry out the work that the organization is doing. So I think that awareness should feed into any kind of development of a partnership, which is based mostly on projects.
Thank you very much for that very concrete recommendation. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm sure you must have picked one or two lessons from this edition. If you are very interested, in being a part of this show, contact us. Send a message on this video and you can share your impressions about what you think about this discussion, and we can take it up from there. You can follow us, WACSI, on Facebook, on Twitter, on LinkedIn, and we will be happy to continue this conversation with you. Thank you very much, Nina, for your time, and we wish you a wonderful stay and prosperity in the journey that you are having here with organizations in Sierra Leone.
Thank you. Same to you.